Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I am ready for the fall vibes. I got the sweater on. I'm
Yeah.
just I'm fully living it. Um
Yeah.
this was so fun because of course I got to talk to you earlier with the cast, which was a blast. So one thing I didn't get to ask you last time was what was it like seeing Mr. Crockett on the big screen?
It was great because I think, go through this process of sound designing, sound mixing, color, and ultimately like you want to see it really like almost like an orchestra all brought together and presented in like the way that's intended for. I don't know, I felt very proud of all the hard work that me and the team put into it. And yeah, it was a fun ride.
Nice. And I mean, it must be just so satisfying though, seeing it like with an audience. It's so visceral. You get the laughs, you get the like screams and stuff. That must have been really cool.
Yeah, no, it's great. I just got back from Sitges Film Festival, and it was really cool just seeing the international audience and how they reacted to it. Yeah, the Austin audience was great too. And I think it's almost like also like a live focus group in a way because you see
Mm.
like what works, what doesn't work. And I'm just really thankful for that experience. And it just really encourages me in like, the type of ride that I want to take audiences on with my work.
Nice. Just branching off of that, what got the biggest reaction, do you recall, as far as like the audience?
I say the first two kills.
Mm.
The cold open kill, and then the bubble gun
Mm.
kill definitely got like I'd say the biggest reaction. And then after Summer had that part near the end with her and Crockett with the magic marker
Mm. Hmm.
slicing him, those were the three biggest reactions.
Nice.
Yeah.
Um, so Mr. Crockett is what I would definitely describe as like analog horror, which is really big right now. And I would love to know like what your thoughts on about why this genre is so appealing, especially right now.
I think it's appealing because not only is it nostalgic to people, but I think like it's almost like a rawness of that time. And I think when people were young during that time and viewing it, like you may not think about all the creepy aspects that live within the world of what you're seeing until later on. And then so like I think when you look back at it now and you see like yeah, like the productions were great and everything, but also a lot of the creature designs that were meant to be comforting towards kids were actually like pretty creepy. And so kind of just playing on that in general was something that I was really excited about, especially with creating the songs and just having like the little dances and the cast. Like those are things I really wanted to do. In general, I really wanted to even create my own kids show, kind of based in that time period. Because we filmed like a lot of extra stuff that wasn't even in the film, to where I'm like, I would love to create a Mr. Crockett's World show just strictly for kids.
Nice. I love it. Or I can't talk too much about this aspect, I guess, but like the animation, you have a little bit of animation in there.
Yeah,
That would have
yeah.
been a cool kind of spin-off.
Yeah, like I was shout out to Cartoona. They were a great company to work
Mm.
with on the animation. And yeah, definitely like a Schoolhouse Rock inspired vibes. Yeah, I love that aspect of it. It's really fun to work on.
And just again, I'm speaking super generally right now to not give anything
Yeah.
away, but that animation sequence is, I think it's so compelling, even with it just being animation. I think like it doesn't dull what it's trying to convey. And I guess what I'm trying to ask is, was that ever considered like in live action, or do you think like the animation maybe in a way kind of softens that a little bit, or like,
It was definitely considered in live action, and I think when it comes to like priority with schedule and timing you have to actually shoot a film, it's like let's see the best way how we could be resourceful in different ways, and then also a way we could inject creativity into the piece. And since we had already filmed like an animation opening for the Mr. Crockett's World show, this was a good opportunity to where we could like bring, yeah, like a storybook to life. I don't without giving too much away.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it still has that gut punch, but I think like thematically it certainly fits and it doesn't feel like at a left turn. Last time I got to talk to you and the cast, Aiden was really fun to talk to. And that's kind
Mhm.
of my segue into what was it like working with child actors?
It was great. Like right now, I coach my sons. I coached his basketball team. I coach his soccer team. So I'm often dealing with kids, and I love working with the youth. I think it's like, obviously they're our future, and I really believed in him. I loved his attitude, and then, there are times where it does get overwhelming because you might be the only kid on set at the time, and there's a lot of adults around you, and there's a lot of pressure. And so I
Mm,
loved working with him through those moments because I truly believed in him and what he could do. And so I was there, kind of like as if I was his coach. I was motivating him. I was, giving him like little talks and stuff, and then we really connected on a deeper level to where he was able to trust me to take him along with this ride. And so, and I think I learned a lot just, I guess, from having kids of my own. Like you have to make some things a game because kids have
mm,
certain attention span. And if you kind of over explain without showing, then it may not resonate as much and actually just showing. So lean into a lot of those aspects and overall just being transparent with them and just being their friend on set because it's intimidating for them if you don't have that type of connection. That's just from my experience.
mm.
So
Wow, that's amazing because it seems like you already kind of had these tools, like you said, from being a coach and just having your own kids and almost trying to not manipulate, but like a life hack as far as like, okay, making it, like you said, a game or, having something not feel like grueling, work.
yeah, exactly.
Um, hmm, I mean, that's really interesting. And I'm kind of curious, like, what was the most memorable behind the scenes story you have that you could share?
I would say it's the first time that Mr. Crockett stepped on the Mr. Crockett's World set
Hmm.
because when he was on set, he was Mr. Crockett. He wasn't Elvis Nolasco anymore. And he was very fully into his character, which everyone on set respected,
Hmm.
especially because after the first time he came on, he gave this big improv performance in Crockett
Oh,
and his
wow.
character. And it was just so grand and so like it was like we were watching, a theater play.
Hmm.
And like, the way that because I had honestly before I only got like a little taste of Crockett, but I didn't really truly know he was going to portray Crockett. And so like because at the end of the day it's like you interview the actor, it's not like an audition process when it comes to that. um so when he came on and kind of just stole the show, he went off for like 5 or so minutes, explored the set, like,
Nice.
and it was everything I wanted from a Mr. Crockett. And it got me so excited, and everyone on set was like, their jaws dropped and they were in awe because they were like, wow, we're in for such a great ride and we can't wait. It was almost like I could feel that's maybe how like Wes Craven Man felt when he first had like Freddy Krueger on set or something.
Hmm.
Like you feel like you're about to witness a future horror villain icon. Only I would hope, but in a way, that's the feeling I felt. So every time he stepped on set after that, people had a lot of respect for him.
Nice.
And if they said we said Crockett's here, it's like everyone's quiet on set because they can't wait to see him.
Nice. So that's so interesting. So it must have been really easy for the actors, or like, or at least maybe easier to, really play off of him when he had, such a presence, right? Like, it was very,
Mhm.
very commanding.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. And I'd say also, it's like also other actors, they may not know Elvis until the end because, when he's Crockett and he's not anybody else. So
That's awesome. So he was kind of method. Did he like just answer to that, or like, I mean, in
yeah.
between?
Yeah, he answered that. Sometimes I would
Nice.
be like, "Hey, Elvis, blah blah," and then when he answered, I'm like, "Oh, I Crockett," and he's like, "Oh, yes," you know. So it was definitely like that. But you know, I think it was fun. I never experienced something like that, but I was glad I was part of that because at the end of the day, you know, he obviously killed his performance, and so I'm like, hey, you know, you're doing your job. You could be whatever you want.
Nice. And I think I recall when I interviewed y'all, I asked something about like how much influence you had on the character versus like what Elvis just brought. And it
Mhm.
seems to me that he, brought everything, but it was your job to kind of hone that in, right? Like kind of mold it and kind of get it exactly where you wanted it. Is that right?
Yeah, I think what we did is we dug in a lot of the backstory together, and we set up his almost like because this character has a lot of childhood trauma, which he
Mm.
carries on to current day, and so it's kind of setting the playing field for that childhood trauma, and then him going off and building on that in a deeper way about like you know what may have happened to him psychologically, how he feels about his parents, and that how that carries on to how he acts in today's age, and it being the reasoning why he thinks of certain parents in a certain way, and so all those like connective tissues that lead into like Crockett's character and why he may be triggered by certain parents' actions, which led to um, how he is as a villain today.
Yeah, and again, not giving anything away, but it's certainly, I will just say, sets up a sequel. And I know we talked a little bit about that last time, but I don't. I mean, I'm sure it's so early days you can't say, but I'm assuming you'd be game for another one.
Oh yeah, I would love to go on this journey with Elvis again and the cast. It was like one of the best experiences of my life, and you know, I'm a huge fan of franchises of this type. So you know, if they're game to go for a while, then I'll be game to write some more. I have a lot back. I have a lot of stories to tell about his character. So you know, I'm down.
That's awesome. And I mean, it's such an interesting world that you created that I feel like even if it wasn't a direct sequel, it could be like in the same universe. Like it's such an expansive kind of playground, right? Like you could
Yeah,
almost make it like a cinematic universe kind of thing. Um,
yeah,
but I don't know. Let's write
yeah,
it. Call me.
yeah. We'll see, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, so you I guess kind of already answered this, but how how does being a parent like really kind of shape this material? Because obviously it's very personal. You're
Mhm.
a coach, the character as a coach. So I mean you must kind of draw from a lot of your own experiences.
Yeah, I definitely do. And I say one of my biggest fears is losing my kid. You know, so I can imagine like how horrifying that would be and how crazy of a journey it would be to, you know, lose your kid and try to get them back. Like that's something that I think now I'm very I guess like protective in a way
Mm.
as a parent. And yeah, so like those themes like really hit home for me.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I recall last time talking about like stranger danger and that being kind of the big takeaway or the message, which I think is a good one, and I think that it kind of reminds me of like some of the really great creepy pastas that had that kind of almost terrible kind of I'm trying to think what I want to say, but it's what it sums up to is like don't trust everybody, don't talk to strangers, all that stuff. Were like creepy pastas kind of any inspiration with this particular project?
You know what? I had not watched Creepypasta at all. I did not
Mm.
hear about it until after the film and when people start making references from the trailer. So yeah,
Mm.
like me. Um, but then I looked into it afterwards. But it definitely is like, yeah, it's like you have to watch what your kids watch, because you never know what influences their, you know, that are touching their lives. You know, it could be also peer pressure in society. kids at school or outside people that you may not have any supervision over. So I think Crockett kind of resonates towards different influences in society that may like deter the path of the kids that you want them to be on.
Hmm.
So
All right, great. So I need to wrap up, but so this comes out this Friday, and holy crap, I watched it twice. I actually put it up on the projector, so I got to kind of have the big screen experience, which was a lot of fun. So
yeah,
y'all, yeah, so y'all are gonna want to check this out. Comes on Hulu again this Friday. So awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. Holy crap, this project was everything I wanted. I was excited because I love the short film so much. So really great job.
thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate you.
Yeah,